Guys, welcome back to the new video. Today we are going to talk about symmetry. Uh, I will keep the video rather short because there is not much to talk about symmetry. Symmetry is something, an aspect of geometry, an aspect of what you see, which predominantly tells you about the concept of it. And I think this is something which is very visual. Yeah. Before that, let's quickly remember what we learned in the previous video. If you haven't had the chance to go back to the previous video and see, then please go and learn ratio and proportion. I think it's a really good fundamental concept clearing video which I've created, and I've talked about ratios, the meaning of it, what is the application, why do we need it, and then we have solved through a series of problems. We have also created the whole concept of ratio and then the relationship between a ratio of fraction and a decimal number, and then proportions, the concept of which has been Achilles' heels for a lot of students. So I've cleared that what is the meaning of proportion in with respect to a ratio. So please go back to the video, check it out on the channel. It's a ratio and proportion single video, and check it out properly. Today we will learn about symmetry. Symmetry is basically alright, before calling out symmetry I should have put some photos. So for example, if I make a square, not really able to make a square, so give me a moment. Let me make a square. Yeah, I think this will make a square. Anyway guys, I'm not able to make a square. Oh, yeah. Just a moment. Yeah, so for example, this is a square, right? This is a square which I have made. Now, when I look at it, let's see, I draw a line here. This part is equal to this part, and this is through the midpoint. Again, I draw a perpendicular line through the midpoints of this side and this side. Again, this part and this part, they are symmetrical to each other. So what you see here, this length is equal to this length, this length is equal to this length, this length is equal to this length. Let's say from here, this length is equal to this length, this length is equal to this length. So that is the meaning of symmetry. This is symmetrical around this line. Okay. Now we can take, let's say, a circle. Okay, we can take a circle. Now for a circle, what happens is that this is the center of the circle. If I draw a line here, this part is symmetrical to this part. If I draw a line here, this part is symmetrical to this part. So for circle you can draw endless lines and basically diameters, not just lines, but only for diameters. And how many diameters can you draw in a circle? Endless. It has to just cross through the center, and then any line which crosses through the center is diameter, right? So across all the diameters the circle is symmetric because this half will be equal to this half. So that is the meaning of symmetry, is that it should be equal. If we draw a line, then it should be equal. And then there is lines of symmetry. So for instance, for every figure there will be some lines around which the figure will be symmetric. Now this square, for example, I don't know if I made a square or a rectangle, but see, this is the, let's say, the midpoint of both the sides, right? If I draw a line through here, these two parts are symmetrical to each other. So this is one line of symmetry. Let me change the color. Let's say this is the midpoint, this is the midpoint. If I draw a line through here, then this part will be symmetrical to this part. Yes. Let me change the color. If this is the diagonal, okay, then I see that this part is symmetrical to this part. Yeah. Now let me change the color again and say that if I draw this diagonal, then this part here will be symmetrical to this part here. Now you try to create another line of symmetry which divides the figure in two equal parts. You will not be able to do it. So a line of symmetry, what it does is that it divides a figure into two equal parts. Here we have four lines of symmetry. In case of a circle, we will have infinite number of lines of symmetry because there are infinite diameters which can be drawn through the circle. And there are a few figures which will just not be symmetric. There will be zero lines of symmetry. There will be zero lines of, what will be such figures? For example, a scalene triangle. A triangle something like this, right? It is not symmetrical. You will not be able to find even one line of symmetry for which you can say that okay, this line is equally, because it's a scalene triangle. You try and figure out a line of symmetry in a scalene triangle. I don't think that you will be able to. Whereas if you draw a equilateral triangle, okay, meaning which all the three are equal, then you just draw this, because in an equilateral triangle this part will be equal to this part and it will be symmetric. Similarly, from here to here also, if you draw a perpendicular bisector, this part will be equal to this. From here to here, if you draw, then this part. So there are three lines of symmetry in an equilateral triangle. So for every figure you will have to spend some time and see, and which is why I am leaving you with the exercise. Like, see, in an equilateral triangle there are three lines of symmetry. For a square I just told you. Figure it out for a rectangle. Can you tell me that for a rectangle, you know how many lines of symmetry are there? Obviously one is this, two is this, then the diagonals will also be there. It will be symmetric, so there will be four. Do it for an isosceles triangle, rhombus, we have studied about rhombus, circles we have talked about. So do it for an isosceles triangle. An isosceles triangle is a triangle in which two sides are equal. Okay? So put your own brain and see. And I also want you to think a little bit more, because there is not much to be taught in this under this topic. It's a very simple topic, but you can think that can you draw a triangle which has exactly one line of symmetry? Just think on this one कि ऐसा ट्रायंगल बना सकते हैं जिसमें एक ही लाइन हो सिमेट्री की. Think of an isosceles right angle triangle and think how many lines of symmetry can be there. Okay, how many lines can we draw which basically divide it into two equal parts, and then we cannot draw any more such lines. It's an isosceles right angle triangle. Okay, I think this is the answer to this one. Rest I am not going to answer. See, I know the answers, but then no lines of symmetry we have already discussed. Exactly three lines of symmetry is also something we have discussed previously. If you look here, three lines of symmetry in a triangle we have discussed. But exactly two lines of symmetry, this is something that I leave to you to think about. Think about it. If you are able to solve it, great. If not, then just either write a comment or write an email to me. And that is the end of symmetry, guys. Nothing, no rocket science, just simple common sense. So I hope you enjoyed and keep enjoying learning, and I really hope that this adds value and your concepts are clear. And if you have any questions, any feedback, my email ID is right there. Write to me or just put it in the comment box, and I will be more than happy to come in and answer all your doubts. See you in the next one. Bye.